There we go. Okay, so hello, welcome. This is the Kubernetes SIG storage volume populators weekly meeting. The main thing that we're trying to get done is get the KEP merged before the enhancements freeze, which is an incredibly short deadline for the 122 cycle. I reached out to Tim and he actually responded back and said that I'm in his queue and he will get to me whatever that means. So I guess it sounds promising. We still have about, I think, 9 days until the actual freeze. What I wanted to do today, let's see here. Yeah, I didn't update the agenda yet. I wanted to go through the actual changes to the KEP. So to this one, if you can see my Firefox.
Yep.
Okay. So what Tim had wanted us to do was to split apart the original KEP into just the data populators and a separate KEP for the backwards incompatible change so they can be tracked separately. And I actually have two separate PRs. I have not touched this particular KEP since the 121 cycle, but I think it's still all good. So it has its own PRR reviewer. I guess I don't know when the PRR review happens relative to the approval from API reviewers. If they need to happen in parallel or what. But I
they usually want to get some look good to me. Then I think they're usually pretty quick, right? I think you had that reviewed last time, did you?
Well, we did for the KEP itself, but then Tim had asked that we split it so that we could separately track the backwards incompatible change. And that, I don't know if, so this is new content. Let me scroll down. There's this new KEP called reject invalid PVC data source, which basically is just a copy paste of some of the components of well, a lot of this is template stuff, but it links to the volume populators KEP and then explains that we were going to have to break this existing behavior and then very briefly cover the goals, the non-goals, the proposal, the risks and mitigations, the test plan, and
so this one actually does not have that questionnaire, or is that questionnaire in the original KEP?
That's a good point. Yeah. When I copy pasted the KEP, I did not copy the PRR section of it, but maybe that's what I need to do for David, and then get David to review it. I wanted to get buy-in from you guys on this particular part of it.
I don't think I have reviewed this one yet, so I appreciate
then let's discuss it right now just to make sure that we're on the same page. And then if you want to take a more detailed look at it after the meeting, that's fine. Okay. So do you remember what this was about, or do I need to jog your memory?
Yeah, I guess the context here was we wanted to make sure basically how to handle the weird rejection acceptance of data sources behavior that we had.
Yeah. So the problem is that today, because the feature gate is alpha, if you put like a pod or a config map or any sort of core object in the data source field, it'll just ignore it and you'll get an empty PVC. And after my change merges, like that will be an actual error. Although if you put something else that is not a core object in, it won't be an error. Your PVC will never bind unless there is a populator that knows how to populate from that object type. And I think we agreed that this is the semantics we want. So I spelled all that out here in this KEP. And I have there's actually let me see if I can dig up the actual PR that implements this. Pull requests, your pull requests, implement reject invalid PVC data source KEP. Yeah, so the implementation of this KEP literally just deletes 3
Oh,
files.
there's 0 lines added or deletion.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, 0 lines. It just deletes 3 files
okay.
and removes 5 lines from registry core persistent volume claim strategy.go. It basically removes these drop disabled field calls.
Mm-hmm.
That's all this that's all this change does, and this is what is called for in the KEP, is to do this. So we need to just get formal agreement that this is actually what we want to do, and making sure people understand that there is a tiny risk that someone somewhere is depending on this weird behavior, that you can get an empty PVC by putting garbage in the data source field, and that guy will be unhappy when this change merges. But I think in principle, everyone is okay with that. So we just need to say, yes, this is what we want. I guess I need to fill out the PRR questionnaire again and have David take a look at this.
So you don't have to, if it's already answered in the original CAP, you don't need to repeat here, right? So it's only for this particular change you need to.
I don't know. I mean,
this?
I'll go through the questionnaire question by question, and I guess, and put in some answers, and most of them will just be like not applicable, but for the ones where I'll either refer back to the other KEP or answer it in this one. I can update it,
Okay.
For the sake of the PRR people, to make them happy, because yeah, I do want David to look at this and say yes, but I guess
Yeah, seems like a good idea.
if there
Do it
was
in
an
parallel.
LGTM from one of you guys, that would probably help this get through.
Sounds good.
And then,
I can take a look.
and then yeah, and then if Tim approves this, then I think the structure of this PR is that it creates a new KEP. I don't know if, I guess it doesn't delete anything out of the old KEP. No, it just creates a separate KEP for reject invalid PVC data source, and leaves the original one alone, because we were
Do you
happy
have to
with.
create a new issue for this?
I did. That's why. Yeah. So
Okay.
the KEP number is 2546. So there's probably an issue 2546 out there that refers to this. In fact, we could go find it. Your issues. Don't ignore user input on this one. Yeah, 2546. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so if we can get this one merged, then then I just have to get all the coding done for the other repos, and so the status update on the other repos is that I haven't really made any progress on the release tools changes. I mean, I have a PR that updates release tools, and that got merged. I just need to do the release, and if there's any more code review comments, I'll respond to those and update them. And of course, I still need to add tests to one of the repos. But that'll be an incremental thing. We'll get some, like, one basic integration test, and then get a proud job based on that test, and then we'll expand from there for the for the controller that validates the data sources. The, what do we call it? The volume data source validator or something. I can't even remember the name of it. We picked too long of a name. But yeah. So I guess the immediate thing is if you guys could put a LGTM on this other KEP. Then,
Sounds good. Taking a look right now.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to discuss today. Just going down the test plan, test case that creates. Yeah. Yeah, the only alternative is to forever enshrine the existing behavior. As far as I can tell, that's the only other thing we could do with the data sources, if people decide they don't want to do this. Fortunately, the volume populator stuff could move ahead without this, but we wanted to.
Are we
get
going to go
this.
through alpha, beta, GA for this one?
Don't think so, because as you saw, the actual change literally consists of just deleting some files. I don't know how you can do that in an alpha, beta, GA way.
Could throw a feature flag in front of it, and if on, then ignore this behavior or something like that. But I don't know if we want to.
Well, so the problem is we have a feature gate for the for the any volume data source, and once that goes to beta, then we will already be changing this logic, so we won't be dropping the disabled fields. What would happen is we what would happen? You would just get a PVC with like a pod in it, and it would just never bind, because there would never be a populator for any core object type. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and find out what is the thing that throws the error if you have actual garbage in the. I think that there's already code merged that if you have a core object, you get an error. If the thing is because of the drop disabled fields code that currently exists, it routes around the error by dropping the contents of the field before it gets to the error checking.
Got it.
So the problem is when the feature gate flips, something has to be done here, and I don't think we can have a second feature gate. We would just have to sort of tie them together and then put them through alpha, beta, GA together.
I see. Yeah, I mean, effectively, this is like bug fix. So
yes,
I think that's what we were going with. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how Tim regarded it. He wanted it to have a KEP wrapped around it so that it would raise the visibility, get a top level release note,
Got
and and I guess we could have an opportunity to, if we approve the KEP and we merge the code and someone screams in the middle of the 122 release, we could back it out before we cut 122.
Right.
So we would have this time window in the 122 release cycle where we could change our minds. Of course, once we ship it, then it becomes the official behavior. So that's another reason to sort of merge this early on in the cycle. So assuming we can get this KEP merged by the enhancements freeze, I'm going to come back and say, let's merge this change right away. So it becomes part of 122 at the very beginning. And then
makes sense.
we can see if anyone says anything about it and says that they don't like it. But it would be easy to revert it if we changed our mind. We would just re-add these 3 files and re-add these 3 lines of code and be back to the way things were. All right. So I don't know if Tim is going to want to schedule a meeting when I get to the front of his queue, or if he's just going to review it and say yes, or how that's going to go. But if I do hear back from Tim and he wants to meet, I'll try to invite the 2 of you and the other regular attendees for this meeting, and we'll try to get something figured out. I guess we have an opportunity to meet at our regular time next week before the feature freeze if Tim wants to meet with everyone and talk about it one more time. So I'll propose that to him. But
Sounds good.
Hopefully
it'll be offline. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure he's very busy, and I'm sure the KubeCon and the short schedule is not making it easy, because I know that there's a long list of other storage KEPs that are probably trying to get approvals too. I know that the Cozy one, because I'm in all those meetings, they're trying very hard to get Cozy approved for 122 to finally be implementable.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm surprised how quickly the enhancement deadline is this cycle.
Yeah, I'm surprised. They
everyone
extended
is
to 4
surprised.
months, right? But then it sounds like the KEP freeze deadline come quicker than before.
Yeah.
Plus it's KubeCons right after KubeCon, so
yeah, I don't know what the logic behind that was.
Well, the only logic that I can imagine is that they took a week or 2 to decide whether they were going to have a 3 or 4 month release cycle.
That's true.
So the announcement went out like a week or 2 later than ordinarily would have for what the schedule was going to be. So like that was 1 or 2 weeks of dead time where people could have been working on KEPs, but they hadn't announced the schedule yet. So I think that's where the time went, but I don't know the logic of the release people.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Well, that's all I have. If you guys would please take a look at the KEP. that's the main thing.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
All right. And
Thank
I'll put a
you.
link to it in the, I'll update the agenda and put a link to it after we're
Perfect.
done. Thank you.
Take care.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.